history with Linux. Short as it may be, I have actually gone past 20 years of being a Linux user. Although, to be fair, it has been on and off. I have not been using Linux on a daily basis for all of these years. But in 1996, I bought a 6 CD set of Infomagic Linux Developers Resource. I have this CD still somewhere in Sweden, in a box. But I think actually I tried something before this. I seem to remember that around 94 was the first time I came into contact with Linux. But this is what I definitely have and had, and I made use of. On this CD set, I'm not sure about the versions, maybe slightly different, but I think it was Red Hat 4.0, Slackware 96, Debian 1.2, and some other things. And I think actually Slackware was the one that I was using the most. Slackware and Red Hat were the ones that felt good to use. And I was really amazed about the tools that they had on this CD for manipulating files. You could go into and write the hex code of binary files and edit that byte by byte, which you couldn't just do in Windows. And the thing that I really used it for was I had a hard drive that crashed. And after the hard drive crashed, I installed one of these Linux versions on it. And after installing the Linux on the same hard drive that crashed, I had some kind of a tool on there to pull up what file remains were on the hard drive from the previous installation. And I could rescue lots of photographs and school documents and something that I could just pull back from the dead, which was really amazing to me. And I thought that, hey, Linux is the best thing ever. The thing is, it was really annoying to use because, and now the pictures I have here, I just stole them off the internet. These are not my own pictures, any of them, but down here in the right corner, let me highlight that for you. Down here, you see that there is something to navigate the desktop. And if you play the game like League of Legends or Dota 2, then you're aware of this, that you pull the mouse cursor to the edge of the screen and that moves the screen around so you can look at other things. This Red Hat 4 and Slackware 96, they had this desktop behavior where, as you can see, some of the windows are not visible on the screen, so you'd have to move your mouse to the edge of the screen to sort of scroll over to see the rest of these windows. So the desktop was a lot bigger than the viewport that you would see. And this was just super annoying to me. I mean, not when we use programs now, we have these for desktop, and now I have Tint 2 installed to show the desktops and some panel applets and something. But the point is that when I navigate to a new desktop like this, I get a predefined view. I'm not sliding so I see half the window, and I don't need to rearrange the window up and down so that I am looking at something reasonable. When you play a game like League of Legends or Dota, then I mean, why not? It's okay to do that because you're gonna look at you don't have a fixed border of a window that you want to keep clicking. But if I misposition the screen a little bit, then the pause button of Audacity is gonna be a bit off. It's just annoying to use, in my opinion. So I never felt comfortable using Linux, even though I thought that there were a lot of things about Linux even then that were far superior to anything that Windows or DOS or had to offer. So despite the successes of rescuing files and using file managers that were way more advanced than anything I had in Windows, I still just went back to Windows 95. And I was using Windows 95 for a long time, up until I got Windows XP. And now and then I looked at some new Linux version. OpenSUSE was something I tried for a while, but I just kept going back to Windows. And of course, a lot of the reason for that was that I enjoyed playing games, and there were really no good games available on Linux. The good games were all on Windows. So you needed back then you needed to have a Windows partition in either case, and then I just found myself always using Windows because I didn't really have a reason to use Linux all the time. Then came Ubuntu around 2004. And this is Ubuntu Warthog, the 4.10 version, I think. And this had the same feel that Windows 95 had when Windows 95 first came. I mean, going from Windows 3.1 to Windows 95, it was a real feeling of progress. Something happened to your computer when you installed this new operating system that made you feel like it's better. And I had the same feeling when I installed Warthog, that I felt like, wow, this way of presenting Linux is just better than anything before. And I tried GNOME before that, but I don't know, there was just something about this that felt great. And I can't really put my finger on it, maybe just because I forgot it. But still, it was a bit unstable and things were crashing and still not very many applications available. So I kept going back to Windows XP and checking up on Ubuntu and the other Linux versions, distributions as well, now and then. But I never really did anything more than using a live DVD. Up until Ubuntu 6.10 EdgeEft. Now EdgeEft was, again, it was the kind of feeling that when you went from 95 to Windows XP, again, you had that feeling that, yeah, this is really an improvement. Something is a lot better here. And it was the same thing with EdgeEft. And this is when I decided that I'm just going to leave Windows behind me and I'm just going to use Linux from now on. So I was really active in the ubuntuforums.org, asking questions, answering questions, writing how-tos, lots of activity. And I mean, it was a lot of fun, but after some time, I went back to XP again. And the main reason why I went back to XP was because I just missed the games that we were playing. I missed hanging out with people, having fun in a relaxing way. And Linux, even though EdgeF was a nice product, it was a work environment, and I didn't really have that many things of enjoyment in it, in terms of games and stuff. So I went back to XP mostly because of the games, but also because of the upgrade system that Ubuntu had. Every time you wanted to move from a version to the next, from 6.10 to 7.4, or from 7.4 to 7.10, or and so on. They always had the release schedule of April and October, right? So that's 4 and 10. But I just found way too often, pretty much every time when there was an upgrade to the next version, which is 2 times per year, that it didn't work to just upgrade it. You had to back up everything, reinstall the entire system with this new version, and then try to get all of your settings back. And since it's lots of new versions of software, many times it didn't work even to restore your backup. And which is why the upgrades didn't work that well either. So I don't know. I had a laptop that I kept on Ubuntu, but that was a laptop that I never used, basically. And otherwise I was on Windows XP. Another reason actually why I didn't go back to Ubuntu, Ubuntu has kept improving. This is the newest version right now, and it is very polished in many ways, but it's just too annoying interface, this Unity bullshit. And the alternative is GNOME or KDE, which is just not good. And Lubuntu with LXDE is also something that I don't know, I never quite liked it for whatever reason. And I mean, you can go on to modify the Ubuntu system as well in many ways. It's just that the next time you're gonna get an update, which is 2 times per year, you're gonna get screwed over. And if you did something else than the default installation, you're gonna have a very difficult time. And yeah, I just stopped upgrading, and I stayed on the same system for a few years at a time. But then they don't backport all of the software, so you're sitting there on old versions, and there are a lot of bad things about using old versions of software. So anyway, this abomination in the left field is one thing that I really don't like about Unity. And the other thing is the constant pop-ups that come up here. You can't even close them. I think they added now. Finally, after a few years, they added the option that you can just click to close it. But for a few years' time, there were lots of pop-ups coming up here after each other that they were just blocking the screen, and there was nothing you could do about it. They're just there. And I mean, now, currently I have tint here. Mostly because there are some panel applets that keep complaining if there's no panel that they can be installed on, like Record My Desktop that I'm running right now doesn't like not having anywhere to put an applet, and so on. So when I first started playing around with this system, I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna have the menu, the OpenBox menu on the desktop like this, and that's fine for me, really. But since there are so many things that are complaining without having any panel, I put in Tin 2, and I put it so that I can have it in the background like this. So I can actually use the entire screen if I would want to. And if I don't want to, I can just use it like a normal panel. But I mean, this is fine to me. This is one small thing on the side, and it doesn't throw lots of pop-ups. It doesn't, and all of the icons here are dynamic, and they show what I have on my desktops. Whereas here, these icons, when I start this one, nothing's gonna change. It's just gonna be there. The other ones are also gonna be there all the time, and they're always in the way. And if you have a lot of apps that you're gonna start this way, you're gonna have to scroll around, try to find what you want. I don't know. I just really don't like it at all. So yeah, I mean, yes, I can use Kubuntu or whatever the GNOME one is. Kubuntu? I don't know. Edubuntu is as well. I mean, there's lots of flavors of Ubuntu where you don't have to put up with this stuff. But then the other flavors of Ubuntu, they also come with their own sets of problems. And it's just, I don't know. There are, in every distribution of Linux, there have been things that annoy me and make me think that, no, I want to go back to Windows. Because even with all the problems and flaws that Windows has, it's very hassle-free. It's very simple to use a lot of the time. It's annoying that you have to restart the computer all the time. But it's just that. And then with Windows 7, again, it's an improvement. Now, Windows 7 had a lot of silly addition, like the Aero theme with glass that they presented like it's this new amazing thing. And in Linux, we had it for years with the Compass composer. So, I mean, that wasn't, they presented it like a new and brilliant thing. And for a Windows user, yes, it was new and brilliant. For a Linux user, it wasn't that new. But it is still a stable, easy to use product. It sucks up lots of system resources, but it makes everything easy. Whereas Windows 10, when that came about a year ago, is again a total abomination. And this one also, Windows 10 keeps popping up, these pop-ups down here that just annoy the hell out of me. I don't know why they like that. I mean, both Windows 10 and Unity, which are two of the big operating systems, they are using that way of annoying everyone. And I don't understand why. Now, I used Windows 10 for a few months, and I hate it in every possible way. I want to go back to Windows 7 if I'm going to use Windows, but I can't do that because Microsoft is forcing me to update to get something like this in one way or the other. And they're going to annoy me with more pop-ups even here that, hey, you're going to install Windows 10, install Windows 10. So just, no, I'm going to go to Linux. And when I decided that I'm just going to go to Linux, I, again, went through the different variety of distributions. And the one thing that I kind of felt most annoyed about was if I'm going to use Linux long term in Ubuntu and pretty much every distribution, you have these times when you have to upgrade everything at once and you just have to back up everything and reinstall the whole system. And it's just annoying. So I wanted a distribution with rolling releases. And then I turned to Arch Linux, and the Arch flavor that I liked most was Black Arch, actually. Mostly because they come with some pretty nice graphics. But I'm sorry to say, I just can't stand the Arch community. I just feel like everyone are so incredibly immature. I didn't have a single interaction with a person on Arch IRC, Arch forum, anything related to Arch. I never had an interaction with another human where I thought that, hey, that was a nice guy. I'm gonna try to see if I can talk to him again. No, never. There's just, everyone was annoying. And the thing is that when you're new to a distribution, you need to ask people. So I just looked around the other rolling release distributions, and I had friends using Gen 2, and I never went into it because of how they describe it. And they described it like, yeah, you have to spend hours compiling stuff, but after sitting there waiting for hours to compile, it's a few microseconds faster. And that doesn't appeal to me at all. I don't care if I compile it or not. What I do care about is having a rolling release, and I do care a lot about being able to modify the system to my own liking. If my friends who were using Gen 2 would have put it like that, then I would have moved to Gen 2. Or I would have tried out Gen 2 a long time ago. But actually, this 2016, after 20 years of using Linux, was the first time I even tried Gen 2. Although I have heard things about it now and then. And spontaneously, first impressions of Gen 2, hideous logo type. Really hideous logo type. The most ugly thing you can imagine. And I hate it. It's disgusting. And this is also ugly and disgusting. And I get the feeling that the Gen 2 community want it to be that way. They don't want people to like Gen 2 because they want to be a closed off, exclusive community. I'm not sure why they would want that, because more people comes with more resources, and more resources means more development. More development means higher quality, and yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of good people in the Gen 2 community. I think the Gen 2 community is a lot better than Arch community. Or at least that's, I mean, my personal interactions gives me that experience. But on Gen 2, I had a lot of problems with compiling, where things wouldn't compile, and I wasn't able to figure out quite why. I mean, I have some hardware that is a bit quirky, I guess. So it's not the most common. The laptop I have is apparently not the most common laptop, even though it is an HP. But I mean, HP is the biggest laptop producer in the world, aren't they? So still, I have some hardware issues that wasn't resolved, and just some general annoyances that made me think that maybe it's not worth the trouble. And this was after I started this playlist. And then I decided that, well, why don't I go to Fun2? And Fun2 was a lot easier. I didn't have the same hardware issues, even though it's pretty much the same system. I feel like I never had the same hardware problems, driver problems on Fun2 that I had on Gen 2. It just kind of figured itself out magically, auto-magically. And I didn't even use, I mean, on Fun2 they have these, where do we have a terminal? ePro. Oh, I have to be a super user. ePro is a tool where you can list flavors and builds and arches and sub-arches and mix-ins to say that, yeah, I want a KDE Plasma 5 system, and then it's going to set all the use flags for you if you enable that mix-in to make it a bit easier to have everything working. But as you can see, I don't have any of that set. I don't use any mix-ins. I just use the core flavor. So despite only using the core and setting my own use flags, I'm using Fun2 a lot similarly to how I would use Gen 2. I'm not taking advantage of a lot of those extra things that Fun2 provides. But everything just works for some reason. So obviously I will stay in Fun2 if it works better for me. And the second thing is that when you go to the community, they're very friendly and very helpful. And I don't know, maybe I was just having, maybe when I tried Gen 2 I just encountered people having a bad day or something. Who knows? Maybe the Gen 2 community is awesome. Their wiki is good, better than the Fun2 one. So they have people who are helpful, for sure. But it just seems that the Fun2 people are more fun, basically. And being part of the community is an important part of any aspect of life. So then you want to be part of a good community. So there are just lots of things speaking for Funtoo, and I'm really enjoying my time in this operating system. But I mean, Funtoo Gentoo is pretty much the same thing. It's just the abomination of a logo in Gentoo doesn't even exist in Funtoo. They don't have a logo. They just have some text that says Funtoo, but they don't really have a logo, which is because they don't really have that much developer resources yet. The most pretty system is definitely Arch. Arch seems to have a lot of talented design people in their group. But from the start, we've come a long way. And right now, we have Steam in Linux, and I mean, these are just the games I have installed right now, but there are lots of games available that are quite fun. I really don't have a reason at all to be using Windows anymore for anything. So I'm quite happy where I am at this time. And I, especially when the Windows looks like this, I don't have any reason to go back to Windows anymore at all. So this is just kind of my history with Linux and the different things I tried. I could have gone into all the different variants of Ubuntu, I guess. Kubuntu, Lubuntu, GNOME, whatever that one's called now. I stopped following Ubuntu when they started with the Unity theme, and the other flavors I didn't enjoy them. So I didn't follow Ubuntu for a long while, but I did follow it for quite some time, around 2007 to 2010 maybe, or something like that, 2011. I was quite involved frequently with the Ubuntu community. And I tried all the different flavors, and I've been into SUSE and Red Hat a bit as well. Back and forth. Not so much Slackware, but the main ones I have been using is mainly Ubuntu, mainly Windows, which is not Linux, but still. And in the past year, I definitely want to use a rolling release distribution, and Arch would have been my first choice if it wasn't for the fact that the community is the way it is. And the community is also the second reason why I'm staying in Funtoo. The first reason being that it works really well. So that's it. Brief run through.